Excuse me?
Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm Sonja.
And welcome to the Halloween special of Our Life, the show. Today we are going to be taking a dive into a couple of our tales of trick-or-treating and horror from our childhood and beyond. Well, not so much beyond for the trick-or-treat part. First, couple quick things, obviously. First, if you see anything behind us, just think of those as spooky decorations.
Should plug this beast in.
Literally anything behind us, spooky decoration. Anyway.
Spooky.
I do hope you'll join us to the end for all of these stories and beyond, but at the end of the video, I do actually have a few announcements that have some sort of bearing on our content in the future. So please stay tuned till the end. Don't fast forward. Just watch, listen. Don't be an asshole.
This one will be fun, actually, though.
Well, we'll see. But before we get into our stories, Sonja last night did happen to make us a couple treats that we were going to partake in for this Halloween episode. Unfortunately, the recording didn't turn out quite the way we wanted to, but we still have the treats here. Don't know how well they will show up here, but I'll do my best.
They're Oreo balls, Halloween themed.
Right, they're Oreo balls, and as you see here, they have the Halloween decorations, spooky sprinkles, and orange stuff. But we're going to sit here, and we're going to have these...
Spooky sprinkles.
We're going to have these treats during our broadcast here. Do you want to tell them anything about the process of making these, or anything like that? Seeing that the recording didn't turn out.
What you need is 1 block of cream cheese, which is basically 8 ounces, I think. 1 pack of Oreos, blender, and some melted chocolate. Baker's chocolate will work, or chocolate chips will. Basically, all you do is grind up the Oreos. Then after they're grinded, you put the block of cream cheese in. Make sure it's room temperature or close to room temperature, because if it's too thick, it'll just be a mess. Well, it's going to be a mess anyway. Anyway, you put that all together, and it'll have like a creamy Oreo dirt mixture thing. Use your hands, roll it in a ball, plop it in some chocolate, and put it on a tray. And then you can add some stuff, because I'll probably make some mint ones during the holiday.
I mean, I'm sure Oreo balls is actually a fairly popular recipe, so I'm sure there's places you can look it up online.
Here it is, anyway.
I'm sure there's places you can look it up online. But for those that didn't know, I did want Sonja to give some sort of overview so you could have some of these tasty goodnesses here for yourself. It had a lot more crunch than I thought it was going to, but it's still delicious.
Well, I was going to say, we might link down the ingredients and maybe a little description of them. But it's not that hard.
So anyway, to kick off our show today, we are going to talk about a few of our favorite trick-or-treat stories. I know for myself, they're pretty much all going to be blended into one tale, just because I don't have any one distinct story, I guess.
I have one. I have other ones too, but I just stuck to one.
Which is pretty much what I'm doing. I'm making one story.
And a couple details from other ones.
But I'll let you go ahead and take it away here, Sonja, because I want to enjoy more of this Oreo ball.
All right. So my last year of trick-or-treating, I was I think I was 13. I was going to be 14 at the end of the year. And I didn't really want to go, but my sisters, my brother, like, everyone around me was like, oh, you should go. You're going to regret it. Go your last year, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fine, whatever. So I already felt old. The costume I had, I dressed up as the Crow from, like, Brandon Lee's Crow, I guess you'd say. But the people I trick-or-treated with was my 8-year-old neighbor, who we were really pretty close to because my siblings babysat her, and my, 2 or 3-year-old nephew. So I already felt old. I felt even older with these two. It was fun. My dad was the one that usually took us around. My mom stayed home to give out candy to my family and stuff who trick-or-treated at the house. But my dad decided to go to a couple extras houses for my last year, and it was basically his last year too, because I was the last child. And we went to a few places that were really decked out in decorations. It was pretty cool. One girl was like, oh, I just got out of my costume, because it was getting late. We usually went from 4:30 to 8 o'clock to almost 9 o'clock, because we know some people stop. Yeah, that was that, I guess. When my siblings, because I'm the youngest of my siblings, when they stopped trick-or-treating, I went with my cousins, and then they grew out of it, and yeah, so. But every trick or treat or before we went trick or treating, we always had pizza of some form. If it was like pizza bagels, pizza buns, yeah, that's poor, or just like I think it was always homemade. Like we very rarely got like a restaurant pizza.
And that's kind of how we still kind of do that now. I mean, it's not 1-to-1. It hasn't been every year. But usually on Halloween night, we try to get ourselves a pizza pocket from a local restaurant. And obviously enjoy the festivities at home. Now we have a son who, unfortunately, hasn't really got the best trick-or-treat experience yet because of, the pandemic and all that stuff. So hopefully this year we can actually change that.
The last thing was that we used to have this place near us. We called it the Jackpot House. And basically this girl would give out like a soda or like a Capri Sun and like a huge bag of candy that was filled, like it was candy, but there was like also like pencils, toys, erasers, and it was always she set it in a cup, like a Halloween plastic cup. I don't know. We got a lot from there and we always called it the Jackpot House.
I had something similar. It wasn't like a house, but where we lived, there was a neighborhood that I guess you could say it's a little more upscale. And any kid that would go on that path, they'd usually end up with a bag full by the end of the block that was there, because all those houses, not all of them, but the majority of them seem to give out some good stuff. So
yeah. I got, like, good stuff and everything, but this one, she would get all of that in just one stop. Like, usually when we went to her house, our buckets were full, and we had to, like, dump it in a pillow sack that was in the car.
So, what I'm going to do for my tale here, I'm going to go with the first Halloween that I remember, and then I'm also going to go with my last Halloween. And the first Halloween I remember, I was 4, I think 3 or 4 years old. I was dressed as a California raisin, which, if you guys don't know what they are, I'll have a picture up here on the screen of what they look like. Hell, if I can find the costume, I'll put that up here too.
I have a nightgown.
I dressed up as a California raisin. I don't remember wanting to be a California raisin, but what I remember the most about the costume, one, was that it was very itchy to wear it, and the eye holes were not great. They were like kind of peeling, so they were always kind of get into. I guess I could feel them like scratching the edges of my eyes.
Was it that like mesh thing?
Yeah, and I don't know what the material itself was, but I don't want to call it felt, but I guess that's probably the closest thing I could get to it, was felt. Well,
if anyone's had costumes throughout the years, they probably know it's either felt or like that weird plasticky, shiny feel, yeah.
So, why it sticks out to me besides the terrible costume is we went to a witch's house, and this witch, as it turns out, ended up being one of the teachers at our school, but
accurate.
She set up her house in such a way where, I guess, in like an era pre-internet and pre-Spirit Halloween, was very impressive for one person to have set up their house this way. And it was set up in such a way, and her act was so good, I was legit scared of her. I thought she was actually a witch, and when I saw her, when I started school, I would not go anywhere near her. Like, for majority of the time I was in elementary school. And that's one of the things that sticks out to me from there. And then we're going to come to my last Halloween. I think I was 12. I'd say I was about 12. And the whole night, I remember I was watching like Child's Play or something like that. And the whole night I was on the fence. I was like, do I really want to go trick-or-treating? This is probably going to be my last year. But then I already feel kind of old. I don't know if I want to do it. And then it was like 9 o'clock, and I way too late to even be out trick-or-treating as it is. And I was decided, you know what, I'm going to try my luck. It was like the worst time to have thought it. And I went down the street near my house, because I didn't go out far. I wasn't going to be out long. Obviously, nobody was going to be giving out shit at this time. The only place I found that was giving out candy had a mentally disabled person. He was giving out candy by throwing it out his window. And I don't know if he was scared of the people coming up to his house or what, but he was like just chucking in handfuls out at people that were passing.
Jeez.
Which was pretty much the only candy I got for that Halloween. And what I remember, and as far as my costume, there wasn't one. I literally was just going out dressed in a coat and pants, expecting to get, just say trick or treat and get some candy. What I remember though, it's this feeling of disappointment and almost loneliness at the end of the night because I kind of blew my opportunity, which is something that's happened a lot in my life as it is. But yeah, I remember feeling very sad about it because I wouldn't get another shot at being a kid and going trick or treating and whatnot. And that's
you could have went next year. They wouldn't have known.
And I don't want our son to never grow up and anything like that. I mean, I do kind of, but at the same time, I want him to go trick or treating for as long as he is comfortable doing it. Not worry about what other people think. It's a fun time, and it's a time that I miss, and I really wish I would have got more out of it.
This day and age, I don't think people care as much if, like, teenagers go to the door. They'll just give them candy. They might pick fun, like, oh, aren't you a little old? But they'll still give them candy. I don't think that's... well, I don't know about nationwide, but around here, I don't think people are as judgmental.
Well, living in a college town like we have,
yeah,
there were kids that were 18 or older that would go trick-or-treating sometimes. Not many. But I think
some not that long ago, like 2 years ago.
I think that kind of like the friendship groups or cliques or whatever that form in high school, college, or whatnot, they'd go out for fun a lot of times around where I lived anyway. And we would see them. I don't think they always showed up a lot later than other kids, but I do actually remember these clearly college-age girls dressed completely provocatively, let's say, in certain outfits coming up to our door at like 10 p.m. trying to get candy. My mom gave it to them, but we were out of commission by then. Everybody was about to go to bed. But yeah, those are our stories from trick-or-treating from our own Halloween experiences. I almost said Hollywood. Yeah.
Hollywood!
While those stories are fun, I think these next tales are where it's really going to get interesting. Now, for myself, I don't believe in ghosts. That's just me.
I thought you did.
Not really. No, I always thought there was something a little sketchy or suspicious about ghost stories in general. I used to believe in them because it was a lot more fun to believe in them. But even with that said, there are stories. One of the story I'm going to share, and something I'm sure Sonja here is going to share, that I guess it's hard to explain otherwise. So, again, just like with our Halloween story, Sonja, you can go ahead and take over here.
I'm going to be the first one?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say, I remember a little DS video you took that we thought was a little girl ghost that might have been your grandma.
Yeah, or it could have just been bad camera work. See,
bull crap! Oh, my cat flew.
The haunted cat.
Yeah. I say bull crap because there was no bad camera or distinction. That was a full on head of hair, face, and everything. There was not
it's still
like,
a DS
that
camera.
Was a lamp.
It's still a DS camera.
I mean, come on.
That is not the best quality.
I say BS. That was clearly a little girl ghost. Anywho, my first story. So, I think my mom's house is haunted. We moved from, like, we just got a new house, like, we had a trailer, moved it out, and we put a new house, like, in the same land. Anyway, shortly after we got this, it was less than a year, it was like a few months, my nephew was in my sister's room. Her room was always oddly colder than the rest of the house, and it wasn't poor insulation or everything, it was a brand new house. But he would point in the corner and be like, he wasn't even a year old yet, but he'd go, in the corner, and she'd look and go, there's nothing over there. But she had a camera that had no batteries in it, and it would flash. It wasn't on, no batteries, and it would flash the light randomly sometimes. And so that's just a little background story anyway. So when she moved out, I had a little get together, whatever, and she brought her friend's Ouija board, and it was a Hellboy Ouija board. I just had to add that one. But this was the first and only time I messed with a Ouija board. Don't do it. It's scary. People always say, oh, it's fake. Your hands always move. We were not touching this board. Our fingers we only used like one finger per whatever, and we were not moving. We were barely touching it, and it was moving. Like, it wasn't just going, it was like, and we weren't moving our hand like that. So I don't care what the physics are or the non-believers. It's fucking real. Okay? All right. Anyway. So,
it's going to be real in 2 seconds. There's that water all over the table.
So, okay, I keep wishy-washy here. I know. I'm not the best storyteller. Anyway, so my other I had 5 people over. Well, no, I was the 5th person. It was 4 friends, and I was the last one. My friend who brought the Ouija board was all in it. I'm like, oh my god, we tried doing it in my room, but we were on the bed, and I was like, it should be a flat surface, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, my sister's room is kind of haunted. Like, freaky shit's been happening there. So I was like, let's go in there. So it was me, my friend, and this other girl. The 2 of my friends stayed in my room because they didn't want to mess with it. They're like, no, it's scary, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, you chicken. So she came, but she sat for maybe 2 minutes and went back with my other friend. So it was just me and the girl that brought the Ouija board. So we were asking the questions like, is anyone there? What's your name? Like, the basic questions or whatever. Well, after about 3 to 5 minutes, it started moving. And I remember, I think it started with like an M, then it went to like an I. And my niece, for some reason this day, like my brother was over and his family, and for some reason my niece wanted to say goodbye to me. She never did, really. But she opened the door and she had to give me a hug, say bye. I'm like, oh, god damn it. So she left. And we waited probably 5 to 10 minutes, and we were not getting any response. I'm like, well, that ghost is either one of us or whatever left. But we did the goodbye and made sure we closed it. But it was creepy. And ever since, like, I hated being alone in that house. Because, like, after I graduated and stuff, I was always, like, before I moved out and got a job, I was always alone in that house. And my parents would go to bed early. So at night and during the day, I would hear, like, these noises, and I'd freak out. Like, we had a fireplace that we barely used, and it always made noise. Like, I know that's how, like, some of it was house shift noises. Other ones was, like, I know, that was a long-winded story, but it still creeps me up.
So, you have another story by the sounds of it.
I have 2 more.
Jesus. I was only going to say 1 for myself, so...
Well, one's not really a story. It's kind of like a creepy thing that still is going on now. The other, I have 1 more story and like another thing to talk about. Okay. But the other thing I was going to add with the last story, I forgot to say, we had the lights off and only had like 2 candles, so it made it even creepier. Alright, so I think I was a freshman and we went to homecoming. My dad picked me up. Well, on the way home, we saw like this big bright light in the sky. It would stop when we stopped and moved when we moved. We stopped suddenly and it was moved and it like noticed we stopped, so it stopped. And it just kept following us. So my dad's like, oh, let's follow it. I'm like, let's not say we did. He's like, oh, you chicken. I'm like, not a chicken. I really just want to go home. I'm tired. But when we got home, he's like, oh, you chicken, you don't want to go. And I'm like, that's not it at all. But it was just so creepy because it was like an orange bright light and it just... People were like, oh, it's probably just a plane, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, because it stopped when we stopped, went when we went, and there was one time that we stopped, it kept kind of creeping. And I don't know, it was just weird. And the last thing was, I've shown this place to like 4 of my friends, including Matt. But near my childhood parents' house, childhood home, parents' house, whatever, there is a house that has been abandoned since I can remember. And during the winter and like during the spring, I took 2 groups of friends there because I'm like, oh, this place is abandoned and there hasn't been anyone here in a while. It's still abandoned today. Like, it's been, like, I don't know what happened to the family or anything. But the creepy part is, as soon as you walk through the door, like, all the windows are smashed because kids are kids. But as soon as you go in, there's a grand piano just sitting there. It still works. Like, it needs some, like, refinishings and stuff like that, but it still works, and it's just sitting there. I'm like, who leaves a huge-ass piano in a house like this? Like, anyone could go in there and steal it, because I don't even think the owners go back there. But that's not it. The kitchen has a table and chairs in it. Most of the drawers have, like, utensils, pots and pans. There's, like, an extra bedroom on the bottom that has, like, toys, clothes, empty boxes that had stuff in it. Even upstairs had, like, old newspapers, old photos, old letters. So...
And that was the thing, although this might incriminate us, one of the times I had went to this house with Sonja, we had looked at some of the old pictures and newspaper clippings, and one of the boxes or whatever that were upstairs that we went in, they did actually have the name of the owner of this place. And when we looked it up, for all intents and purposes, it seemed like the owner is still alive and somewhere not that far from that house. But for some reason, they just completely abandoned this house, and clearly in a hurry, because nothing was packed up. Especially big,
I think there might have been a couch in it, too, if I'm remembering. We could probably go there today, and this shit will probably still be there. Maybe next time we go up to my mom's house, we'll go look.
There's like, big items there, like she was saying, and a lot of, I guess, very distinct memorabilia that it just seems weird that nobody claimed any of this stuff, and that's just sitting there rotting now.
It's been like that, though, for years. Like, it's been, like I said, it's been abandoned since I could remember. And it's still like that today. It's just sitting there. And they have, like, a silo or, like, a shed behind their house. I've seen one time when we were, like, driving by, I saw one guy go up to it. I don't know if he was the owner's son, if he was just checking things out like we were. I don't know. But, like, nobody even stops there or goes there. I don't know. It's just, like, really, it's not really scary or anything, but it's kind of eerie that all this stuff's left here and nobody even goes there anymore. It's like, I don't know, it just sits there and rots.
So on my end of the spectrum, I actually did have probably a few tales I could have told, but one of them was my sister's story of a ghost encounter she had when she was a young girl, alleged ghost encounter. And that's really not my story to tell, nor do I even know all the information. And another one that I have here really isn't all that great. So I'm going to go with my third option. Gotta get my storytelling voice. Me and my friend used to go on a train track near his house. Somewhere where there was a trestle, as it was called, that passed over water. We used to walk on this all the time. Never had any issues. Never ran into any trains, any wild animals, anything of that sort. One creepy thing we did find one time was like this old phone box. I think that's what it is, like the emergency phone box sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But instead of there being anything of actual use inside of said phone box, there was just the skeleton of what appeared to be a dead bird. Granted, who knows how it got there? Could have just easily died there and just stayed there and rotted. Anyway, one day, me and my friend were walking along these train tracks, and as we're walking along these train tracks, these guys, 3 of them, come out of the train tracks near where this trestle was, that was over water. And they said to us, they stopped us and they're like, hey, you guys should get off the track. There's going to be a train coming soon. And we're like, okay, sure, whatever. We didn't know how they would know. We couldn't hear anything or feel anything on the tracks. But regardless, we didn't go on that bridge, and we went back the other way towards the woods. While they, the 3 guys, were walking on the bridge. Not even a minute passes and a train comes. What makes this weird is, of course, obviously they told us about the train coming, but they themselves had nowhere to go when the train came. For all intents and purposes, they would have still been on that bridge. The only place they could have gone is into the water. But there was no trace of them. They were completely gone.
And you say you don't believe in ghosts.
Who's to say what could have happened or what may have happened? They could have easily have ran across the bridge. But for what it seemed to me, they were completely gone. And again, like I said, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but there is definitely stuff that's hard to explain, and this would fall into that category. As well as the other alien story that I was going to say, but hell, fuck that story. I don't really care about it. But anyway, that is my scary story for today. Anything else you have to add to this Halloween special here, Sonja?
You said skeleton bones or whatever. There was one time, it was around the same area. There was like a pond, like it was kind of like a ditch. It had both sides, and like it was like a drain pipe, but the road was over it. There is a black garbage bag. It was filled with bones, and there was a sweater in it. My sister got, like, sick. She didn't throw up or anything, but she almost did. And my cousin was, like, blatting. I think my sister was blatting, too. But we didn't know what it was. I'm like, that's freaking creepy. There's bones and a sweater in it. But I think my uncle came down and said that it was deer bones, and I think they might have got a sheriff. I don't know. I was really young at the time. I was, like, 3 or 4, but I remember I was like, this is fucking creepy. Because who just puts a black bag of bones in the river?
We have more than that experience as far as creepy stuff that happened on that bridge. Not necessarily on that bridge, but not that far from the other end of the bridge is an old barn that I think isn't used anymore, or wasn't used anymore at the time. And we've went in there and we've seen things that, no skeletons or anything like that, but we saw like weird paintings on the wall, like graffiti that looks satanic, like pentagrams and stuff like that.
College kids do that though.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's unexplained.
Yeah.
But we also saw like hypodermic needles and things like that, like people that most likely went in that shed to shoot heroin and
cult like shit.
it was very creepy just because of everything that was there. It clearly seemed like a place where kids went to party maybe a little too hard. But in our 11-year-old mind, it was just 11, 12-year-old mind, whatever, however old we were, it just seemed very mysterious and weird. There is a mysterious shed that used to be out near the pavilion, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, thanks you guys for joining us for this special Halloween episode that we have actually been looking forward to recording for a while. So I hope, even though we did have some other stuff planned that didn't come through, I hope that this was fun and you guys enjoyed it. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the video, we do have a few announcements to make in regards to the channel. First is that I, myself, have started a gaming channel, and it's called King Vito's Gaming. I know it sounds stupid, but get used to it.
Oh, stop.
Right now, there's not much on there, but I do plan to upload there sporadically. I don't really have a set schedule for this one. I will upload sporadically on this channel. So if you enjoy gaming content, if that's kind of your thing, please make sure to take a look at it, subscribe. I'll have the address here at the bottom of the screen, but I'll also have the link in the description. But more importantly than that is, as you know, if you've been with us for a while, we run a variety channel here on YouTube. And we do that because we love to bring different types of content to you. Whether it be Sonja's spooky findings, my internet interviews, or even this show, obviously, Our Life of the Show. We like to have this little bit of a mixed bag. But, unfortunately, I am very much aware that this type of channel doesn't hit as well with YouTube and their algorithm and all that stuff. So, I'm posing a question to you guys this week. Should we start separating our content onto different channels? And if so, what content should stay on this channel? Whether it be my content, Sonja's content, etc. And would you even subscribe to another channel? We'll keep an eye on your answers for the next couple weeks. And we'll gauge that and see where we go from there. But we will keep you updated. I keep looking at that fucking LG logo.
It's right there.
I know. But anyway, once again, thank you for joining us on this episode of Our Life, the Show. And I hope you guys have a safe and fun Halloween. See you soon. I think I haven't been looking at the camera. I've been looking at the LG logo the whole time. Hi, how you doing?